All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Blue Velvet. I haven't been live in a while. I haven't even did an episode in a while. Let me take this down really quick so you guys can see my face. But good evening. Happy Friday nights, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. We're in a different setup tonight, but God bless you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you are wherever you watching, you could be watching from Facebook, you could be watching from YouTube, wherever you are. Tell us where you tuned in from tonight. I have a special guest with me. I'm really excited that she said yes to be a part of this tonight. And so on Blue Velvet, we have what they consider strong truths and soft conversation. And so tonight we're gonna have a great conversation with a beautiful young lady that I end up having a privilege to meet. I don't even know, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. But when I met her, she was in the 8th grade. I was her teacher. And so I'm excited to have her on tonight. And so for all of you from Sugar Creek Charter that maybe I've taught in times past, or just taught you in times past before, welcome to another episode of Blue Velvet. And so I'm going to bring my guests up here. Let me get some drum rolls and some beats going for you, Julia, because I'm really excited that you're here. So let me get my drum rolls going for you. Okay, so drum roll, please. Welcome again to Blue Velvet Podcast, Julia. Thank you so much for saying yes, for being a part.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So this is the adult version of Julia, but when I met Julia, Julia was an amazing, bright young student, 8th grade student, always so respectful, always so sweet. So Julia, I mean, of course, you know, you've had teachers over the years, but you don't always get students who are as kind and nice that you want to keep up with, but you have always stayed the same. And I appreciate about you and all of your friends. You know, there's a adage that says that if you show me your friends, I can show you who you are. And like all of the girls were always so nice, sweet. Everybody has their own different personality, but overall, you girls are just really nice, sweet, smart girls. I'm glad to know that y'all are still kicking it and hanging together and being friends. So for those who don't know who you are now as an adult, because of course I knew 8th grade, and so I can't Julia now, but tell us, who is Julia now, the adult?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. It's crazy because like I said, we just took a girls' trip and we were reminiscing about 8th grade and just our experiences and what brought our friend group together. And yeah, so it's just really interesting to hear your perspective because, middle school is a time. And so I don't, I hope I wasn't as, as middle school, as I could have been in the past. So now as an adult, ironically, Sugar Creek, the experience that I had in that school, and less about maybe I don't know what the school may be now, but the energy then was less about maybe the institution and the more about like the educators and the love that you guys poured into us. Like, I didn't even realize until I had left, because if you remember, I went to Country Day after. I didn't realize how rare it was to have a school full of Black educators. You all encouraged us to go to college. You all, it was, we were having classes about character education and things that just weren't, I didn't know it wasn't normal. So just big shout out to you, because a big piece of what I do now is because of my experience at Sugar Creek. So currently an educator myself. I work at UNC Charlotte. And so a lot of my work is community based. I pair students at our institution, first year students, federal work study students, typically first gen students with internship opportunities in Charlotte. And then on the other side of that, I am a creative. And so I've always been creative, always been into the arts. But, and I don't know if you've ever heard this, and I can tell you that like, maybe 80% of our 8th grade class feels this way. But in 8th grade, Miss Walden, I know you're like, probably don't call me Miss Walden now, but I can't not call me Miss Walden. You used to have these like poetry like slams every
Yeah,
Friday,
yeah.
and a lot of us would just pour really deep stuff into that poetry, and it was through that that I realized that I was a writer, I was a poet, and I pursued that. Really after eighth grade, there were some things in my family life at that point that I didn't know how to talk about, and in our community, it's not, children are heard and not seen. And so that was the first time, at that point in my life, that an adult had gave me a space to just creatively express myself. And so now I do that for other adults and just provide spaces for people to express themselves creatively. So that, I know that was a lot, but that's me now. So educator by day and creative curator by night.
Wow. Julie, you never know, like, and of course, being an educator there, you will never know the impact you make on people unless they come and tell you. Of course,
Mm,
I would have never known that. Like, I
right.
think the book that was reading was Bronx Masquerade, and we would
Mm,
take pieces of that and then share. Like, and I've done that with several classes before. So,
right.
thank you for sharing it. Now, I want to go
Yeah.
back to something because when I heard you talk about the creative space, it made me think about where I currently am, and
Mm,
so just share a bit about your experience between being at Sugar Creek and going to Country Day.
mm. Woo! You know what? I'll start by saying, and this is like just genuine. I think that all of my educational experiences came together to bring me to where I was. And I feel like Sugar Creek was a safe space. I had been going there since first grade, and I graduated in eighth grade before they had built the high school. And I'm pretty sure had they built the high school, my mama would have sent me there, you know? So, like, I was going to Sugar Creek for a long time, and like I said, having Black educators were normal to me. Having people genuinely, and I'm not. I'll just say this: like having educators who genuinely care,
Mhm,
and care without the limitations of who you are. You know what
mhm,
I'm saying? Like we had kids at Sugar Creek who I genuinely did not know that they were dealing with housing insecurity or food insecurity because we had administrators like Miss Dees who would just buy us McDonald's because she knew that was gonna make, the fours on the EOG or whatever. And so I didn't realize that you all were putting more effort into our education than standard. I felt like because the educators were so above and beyond and Black, I thought it was
mhm.
normal.
Yeah.
And so when I went to Country Day, it was a complete culture shock. We were not prepared at all. And simply because the energy that you all had put in us was not the energy that they were used to from people that look like us.
Uh-huh.
And so when we got there, and I'll speak from the eye perspective, but I also did go with Aisha and Naila, who were also in your eighth grade class. And
Yeah.
so when we got there, first day, I always tell this story to my students. I always tell this story to other administrators, especially as an educator now. And I did work in that school system for a little bit after college. And, the independent school system is interesting. And I
Mhm,
did, once again, I didn't even know the differences in like public, charter, private, whatever.
mhm.
So my first day, this idea of Ubuntu, even though I didn't know what that word was, but
Mhm.
that's how y'all kind of like raised us at Sugar
Yeah.
Creek. Like, look out for your peers, respect your elders, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So first day at Country Day, we had what we used to call a town hall. So they would bring the whole school into this auditorium. Also, this was my first time experiencing like real wealth. Like we used to have to share books at Sugar Creek.
Yeah.
Once again, didn't know it wasn't normal. And
Mhm.
here I'm going to this college prep school where I'm literally have to, $500 for school books. That didn't, things like that didn't make sense. So first day of school, we're in this town hall. Our teacher or our dean said that we need to focus on keeping our area clean, our freshman area clean. So at the end of the day, there were these two white boys who were walking out of class in my grade,
Mhm.
and I see them like toss something like litter basically. And our campus, Country Days campus is beautiful. It looks like a college campus,
Mhm.
So I'm like, she just told us we need to clean up and y'all throwing bottles out. And so at Sugar Creek, that's like normal, holding people accountable. People
Mhm.
might get a little frictiony, but they're gonna pick that bottle up and they're gonna understand, and we're kids. But
Right.
here, when you're used to having people picking up stuff for you, and you're
Mhm.
used to having a different relationship with life,
Mhm.
a little black girl saying that to you is like, who do you think you are? But I
Yeah.
didn't understand that, right?
Mhm.
So in the school comes and I go to my locker and I open my locker and Miss Walden, it was filled with trash. They had put trash in my locker on the first day of school at
Wow.
Confronting. And that set the tone for my entire 4 years there. I've always been like, not to toot my own horn, but I've always been, in my opinion, academically brilliant. And Country Day was the first
Yeah.
time where I felt like I was, there was the support of having, teachers call your mom, or the support of having teachers breaking stuff down, or, that it's not that it wasn't there, but it wasn't as accessible. And I didn't know that I had that support. Whereas at Sugar Creek, I knew I had that support. And so it was a big culture shock. And I grew up fast because
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of people have this experience, like maybe out of college,
Mhm.
like their first corporate work experience. I had that at 14.
Mhm.
I was holding workshops for my faculty at 14 about how to have conversations with diverse students. I
Mhm.
was doing things that I'm currently doing in my career for free.
Mhm.
And the emotional labor of being, 14, 15, 16, and having to deal with that. So all of that to say that I learned how to navigate in those environments, but I wouldn't have been so, like, you can even ask the admin there today. They still talk about me, Aisha, and Naila as being just forces. Like, they
Mhm.
didn't know what to do with us. And I was like,
Yeah.
it is 100% because we came from Sugar Creek, and we came from a place that instilled in us, like, you are young, black, gifted, talented, all the things. I remember Miss Barnes used to have this tattoo that said gifted and talented. And although I never had the tattoo, I would
Yeah.
think about stuff like that
Mhm.
at Country Day. So it was definitely an adjustment. It was.
Wow. I just seen Miss Barnes probably a month ago. She was actually leading a small group for the group I'm a part of at my church. And so that's funny that you
Mhm.
said that. So we gonna go to what you do currently, but I want to say to you that I believe that God puts us in places for a reason, and I think that
Yeah.
He wants to allow you to go through that at such a young age, because even now, even though you're a young adult, you're doing it now for other young people. My first,
Mhm.
and I'll just call it, I'll tell you the name of the school offline, but I'm actually at a country day, but it's not a country day. I'm at a country day here in Charlotte, and
Mhm.
what you just described as your 14-year-old experience is now what I'm experiencing at 44. And I
Mm.
never experienced that because I've been predominantly in African American schools or
Mhm.
Latino schools with people that look like me. And so
Right.
now I'm in a place where there are these Caucasian people who are rude and not
Mm.
nice, and they look at you as if you don't know anything. So everything that you just said is like, wow, I'm experiencing that now, and I never experienced it before. And that's what really caught my attention to what you were saying on your live, because I was like, I can relate to all of what you said. I didn't know
Mm.
it's about the racial divide and how they do that
Right.
creative space, but I was like, that's why I want you to come on. And so I'm just thankful that even though it was probably hard and tough for you at 14, that you got so much
Mm.
wisdom and insight in there that you can chart whatever course that God has you to help other young people go through that, and even adults as myself, because you girls was definitely like a very brilliant set of young girls, like just
Mm.
brilliant from the time I met you guys. And so I'm so glad that you have been able to take all of that and merge it into the work that you do now. And so
Yeah.
now at UNC Charlotte, how
Mhm.
how has your experience helped shape what you do with young people that come to you now, where you're trying to fit them into these spaces to get these opportunities?
Yeah. Well, I would say that, we are in a different time. And when I first started this work, and, we were calling it DEI,
Mhm,
we can't call it that anymore. And we can't legally call it that anymore, which is crazy to me.
mhm,
Because I remember feeling like when I was learning about the civil rights movement, um, I remember feeling like, wow, that was so long ago. It would never happen again. We're moving forward. And so it has just been interesting coming into adulthood with this shift.
mhm,
And so on our campus, that looks like maybe identity-based programming that was occurring, a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. We can't do that now. And so our unit um, kind of serves as a conduit, not necessarily for identity-based programming. We don't do that at all,
Mhm.
but we do focus on community, and I think people can connect over whatever that means to them. And so um for me, what's really important is I didn't feel like when I was going through my experience in high school to undergraduate, I didn't feel like I had someone who truly understood
Mhm.
where I was coming from and also where I was going. I did have, the one Black faculty member at Country Day was like our auntie, right? But she was from Iowa, or she's from Iowa, like she's
Mhm.
from the Midwest. She has a different different experience of Blackness than Black girls from the north side of Charlotte. And
Right.
she did her best to guide us, and she did an amazing job, and she was an anchor for me.
Mhm.
And yet and still there were gaps there because of just the difference of experience, like growing up in a two-parent home versus a single parent home, being a legacy or first gen versus so I'm now standing kind of in that gap for students, or at least I like to think I am. um because being a little younger, higher ed is stereotypically a little older, so they will come and kiki with me, and I'm able to kind of be that little medicine in the applesauce to kind of get them where they need to go. Especially because a lot of us, we send our kids to college and say, this is just go get your degree and get out, and
Mhm.
that puts us at a disadvantage. And that's what I was told, and I'm glad that I was able to exist outside of that.
Yeah.
Going to A&T, I wasn't able to just go get my degree and leave. There's
Yeah.
there's all these things. So I like to think of myself as just the big cousin connecting people to opportunities. I love sitting out opportunities, putting students on, growing their network, because I feel like they don't have that anymore,
Mhm.
and a lot of people don't want them to have that. And so if I could be a little small difference in their journey, that's what I try to do.
I love that, but I don't think that you are small. I think you are a big difference, and I think people will come back and tell you later, like, "Man, you really helped me. You really, gave me an opportunity I wouldn't have had before." I think
Mhm.
a lot of times it is about who you know and what they know and who they can connect you to. It's a white man
Mhm.
that I actually like him. I don't know him personally, but his name is John Maxwell. He's like a national known speaker, but
Yeah.
he says this: when you meet a person, ask them, "Who do you know that I need to know?" Because you're
Mhm.
just one or two connections away from who you need to be, who you need to be
Right.
next. And so I think that what you're doing is so impactful, and I think is so even more impactful because you are starting off at such a younger age than most people who end up getting into college or higher ed as
Mhm.
on faculty or staff. So thank you for that. So now we go transition to what I heard you talking about, like in the creative, what you do.
Yes.
You educated by day, but created at night. And so
Mhm.
break it down for us a little bit about your take on the creative space here, just in Charlotte.
Mm. Yeah. So I have been on the I would say in the creative scene in Charlotte for a long time. I started my creative um I would say I started my creative journey in middle school. My first play was in seventh or eighth grade. I can't remember her name, but her last name is Pinky. She
Mhm.
had a whole slew of siblings. Her husband was an actor, and I just remember being so enthralled with the experience. And a lot of my classmates who also participated in that play are also creatives, and we either have gone to college together or see each other on the scene now. And so I've been here for a while, but obviously moving away from college, I stayed in Greensboro a few years after college, and um I started the Golden Plum Collective in 2023 because I was post grad depression. I had been separated from this art. So, like, after eighth grade, that play, I was doing plays in high school, musicals, dancing, still
Hey.
writing poetry, just really like expressing myself. And I loved it. And then when I got to college, it was more so, I don't know if you remember, but I am a first generation African. So, my mom is like, lawyer, doctor, engineer. Pick one. And
Where's
so I
your
was
mom
like, okay,
from? Linda?
Liberia.
Okay.
Yeah, so I picked lawyer, and so
Mhm.
the creativity had to kind of take a back seat. So all throughout college, it was like pre-law, law conferences. So I had really kind of stepped away from that, and I was yearning for it. And in 2020, literally 6 years ago today, I was in Spain studying abroad. I see Donald Trump come on the TV and say, COVID-19 is happening. If you don't get back to America in 24 hours, you're gonna be wherever you at for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
So it was just like that was a shift for me to return back to what I love, because like we didn't know what was going to happen. I thought the world was going to end.
yeah.
And so I started doing little activations that led to Golden Plum Collective. And so in Greensboro, the creative scene there is so young that everybody felt supportive, because everybody just want to see something happen.
Mhm,
But when I
mhm,
moved to Charlotte, it was not the same. And so when I was in the creative scene as a child, maybe I was protected by adults and I didn't see the politics or the red tape. But
mhm,
coming back as an adult, it's like you have the racial aspect that I think people don't like to talk about, and so
mhm.
that's one of the things Sugar Creek gave me. We say the uncomfortable truth,
Yeah.
and so I called that out. Like, the
Mhm.
funding, it seems a little funny. I'm only seeing the same type of creatives get funded.
Yeah.
The support is like attached to things. And so it's just been weird to navigate, but there's also still those genuine people who truly do care about the art and the work who are
Mhm.
here. But I think those people are harder to find because we do live in a society that values social capital over, I think you said it, it's like who you know and what they know versus
Mhm.
what you can do and what you're talented at.
Mhm.
So for me, it's been balancing that. I find it funny that the video got to you because I was really nervous about posting it because, like I said, I didn't know how people were going to receive it.
Mhm.
And I didn't know if people were ready to have the conversation that, like, Charlotte has a lot of talented people here, like, for real. And it's all going to waste because of this scarcity mindset
Mhm.
that is being pushed by people who have the dollars. And so I would like to disrupt that system a little bit.
Yeah, I think you are doing that because, and again, like I don't know how often you post, but I seen it and I watched it video like 2 or 3 times. And I told you it spoke to me because of where I
Where
currently
you
work.
at?
I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, I could resonate with that a lot. And I haven't really made it known that I'm back in Charlotte, right? I've been here.
Mhm.
Do you remember? I don't know, Leo. Do you know Aaliyah Buck Halter? She was
Mhm.
probably okay.
Mhm.
The the week I came back, the place that I moved to, they was having like a social, and so
Mhm.
I went, and I was sitting down and heard somebody say, "Miss Walden, Miss Walden,
Mhm.
what's up?" And I was like, I literally just came back here like a couple days, and it was Aaliyah, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Girl, it was such a small world." So I haven't really did much in Charlotte since I've been back
Mhm.
in August, but I definitely want to get back into the creative space and kind of see what they have, to offer. And it may be, well, I won't say it'll be different from your experience. It'll be just different people because I'm a little bit older than you, but I would love to know when you're having something because I would love to support you, the people that I do know here. I would definitely be like, hey, support Miss.
Yeah.
So explain, tell us about your golden. Can you tell us a little bit about Golden Plum?
Yeah. So I also will say that the age thing is interesting because it's your generation that you might get some friction with. I'm not gonna lie. A lot
Yeah.
of the people that have I won't say challenge because that feels a little too harsh, but a lot of the friction
Hmm.
has come from people a little older than me. And I think that, like, because y'all grew up in a different generation. And so I think it's just been interesting. But no, I think that, like, um basically for me, Golden Plum started off as a passion project.
Hmm.
And because I feel like you'll understand, I will kind of give you the spiritual nature of how it happened. So
Okay,
in 2020,
before sorry, I don't want to cut you off. Before you say
yeah.
that, I would say this. A lot of people who are older, and I used to experience it when I was younger, but a lot of people who are older who see other people up and coming, doing what they want to do, doing it at a young age. Sometimes it's not even because they don't want to support. A lot of that becomes jealousy. Well, how did they feel so far?
Mm.
Like it's taking me this long to get it, and now
Mhm.
this young person or this, and it's something they'll look at you like you're a little girl or a little boy, or maybe they don't know, and they feel threatened and feel intimidated. And so it's not
Mm.
always because you're not really great, because I know you're great at what you do, but a lot of time it's that intimidation factor. Well, I'm trying to get it, and who you think you are coming up on the scene.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of why you may experience some of the friction for the people who are older, which you would think that it will be somebody kind of take you under their wings and help and
Yeah, because
open.
that's how I always approach it. Because
Mhm,
I always have valued, like, my sister is 17 years older than me, so I
mhm.
never grew up with
Yeah.
people my age. So I value, like, the wisdom from elders and people who are older than me. So it is always like that servant leadership aspect I come into it with. But you're right, and so uh, I appreciate you sharing that because
Are you welcome?
yeah, but in 2022, I had gotten a car accident. It was kind of semi bad, kind of like one of those situations where I'm alive, I was good, but I wasn't here good.
Mhm,
And so, I was in a year-long battle trying to get my settlement check. This was right after I had graduated college. So I'm BROKE, like, just
mhm,
really, praying and trying to move forward in faith. And it was getting hard. And I'm in this city with just one other homegirl because at this point, all of my college friends have moved away.
mhm,
They've either gone back home or, went and pursued a job opportunity, whatever. And then I'm in a relationship that, was, looking back now, a bit limiting,
mhm,
maybe emotionally abusive. And so that all started to overshadow me. And so I remember I prayed and I was just like, God, I don't think I want to be here anymore. I don't know what else is left to do. And so if you give me this seed, I will plant it and I will nourish it. And a few months later, I finally got the settlement check, but it had come after months of, like, I felt like Job, and I'm not even playing. Like, I was really in the valley, and I'm not super, like, overly churchy or nothing.
mhm.
But that was the time where I really connected with, like, I found God for myself and what faith really meant to me, because it was like legitimately day to day,
Mhm,
day to day provision.
mhm.
And that had never been my experience. And so when God finally came and gave me this settlement check, the most money I've ever seen in my life, and it
Mhm.
wasn't even too much, it was just a little
Yeah.
something. I I paid all my debts off.
Mhm,
I put money in my savings, and then I took the money and I did what I promised God I was going to do. I started Golden Plum. It started off as a wellness agency
mhm.
where I had thought I was going to be doing, like pop-ups with tea and things like that. The
Mhm.
guy's like, nah, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about what I actually like to do, and that was bringing people together. And
Mhm,
so the name Golden Plum comes from like I said, I'm from North Charlotte,
mhm,
and there's this plum tree that grows on that side of town, and there's one that used to grow in front of our house. And
mhm,
my mom would say that that tree reminded her of trees from back home in Liberia with the plums.
mhm.
And so Golden Plum for me is like bridging my diasporic identity. And so what I love doing is bringing culture and creativity into spaces and building a narrative around that so that people leave empowered, but also leave educated, knowing that your empowerment comes from somewhere,
Yeah.
because that's what Golden Plum means to me. And so what we do essentially, cultural activations. We just had a Black History Month urban walk tour in Charlotte where we went around Brooklyn Village, and I talked about the history of Brooklyn Village that
Mhm.
came from people just saying that Charlotte didn't have Black people. And that was crazy to me. 'Cause
Yeah.
if you live in Charlotte, you don't see Black people, it's intentional.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's intentional. Like, we are everywhere. And
Right.
so, that is a little bit about what we do, but it really started off as a promise. And I feel like, I'm still figuring it out. But I definitely feel like it has revealed my purpose of just truly community. I love community. I love the Charlotte community despite all its ups, downs, flaws. I really do value the people in my community because, people like you, people like, Mr. Samuel, Miss Barnes, Miss D's. Like without those people, I would not be here, and all of you are a part of my community. And so this is me trying to pay that forward, and also trying to make sure I stay on God's good side with the promise that I made him. So
Oh,
yeah.
I love that. Like, I think what you said is so important. Staying true to the promise that you made to God, because even and learning that at a young age, because sometimes you'll say, "Oh, I'll do this if you do this, give me this," or if you get me out of the
Mhm.
situation. And I can speak for myself. And then when I get out of the situation, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
fact that you are sticking to that, I say hats off to you. The next time you are having something, some type of event, let me know. I definitely want to support it. I will
Mhm.
share it out. I will come out, be a part.
Yes.
Because I think what you're doing is definitely something great. And you can see people at a younger age, and I've kind of been teaching for a little bit. You kind of see where they are, and you like, they're gonna do really well, but you don't know
Mhm.
exactly the extent of how well they do. And so to see you tonight and to hear you talking about what you're doing, it makes teaching so much worth it, and it makes it
Mhm.
worthwhile, and it fulfills you to be like, wow, you was able to be just a little part of somebody's story. And as much as you guys will say thank you to us or to me,
Mhm.
like thank you to you guys, because y'all
Mhm.
made it easy, you made it fun, you made it want to be something where you want to come and pour yourself and be the best you can, because you have people who want to listen to you. And I don't know if you ever heard
Mhm.
this adage that says, when the student is ready, the teacher shows up. And so
Mhm.
y'all always showed up. So it's like, as a teacher, I had to be
Sure.
ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I am really, really excited. So again, I'm so happy that you said yes. Let people know how they can follow you, how they can get in contact with you. If they want to bring you on to do anything in their
Mhm.
space, or to do an interview, or to just chop it up with Miss Julia, how can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I float between Julia or Jew, either one is fine, but you can find me at Curated by Jew on all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. I'm always 100% down for coffee chats, just all the things, because like I said, community is really important to me. So I am not hidden. I'm out here. So yeah, come chat, find me. And then if you are interested in Golden Plum, as far as our events, our mailing list, things like that, you can follow us at the Golden Plum Collective on Instagram and TikTok.
All right, Golden Plum Collect. I'm writing this down and I'll put it back in the chat box when we get off. Well,
Mhm.
when I'll reach back out to you whenever you are free for a coffee date meetup.
Yes.
I definitely want to take you out to coffee just to talk to you, and I can share more of my personal experiences that have been
Yes.
going on at Applecrest High School here. Talk to you about
Yes.
about that and how I'm navigating all of that. But thank you so much for saying yes, Julie. To all of you who are going to watch this live, to those who watch live tonight, for some reason, StreamYard don't always show the comments, but for those of you who watch live, thank you so much for tuning in. Share some comments. Let us know how Julia blessed you tonight. And thank you again for another episode. Julia, I appreciate you so much. You're welcome to come back at any time to talk about whatever else you got going on with Golden Plum
Yes.
and all your things. So thank you so much. Continue to be an amazing young woman that you are. Continue to keep your promises to God, because even when
Mhm.
men fail you, God will never fail you. And so
Amen.
thank you for that. Tell the girls I said hello. I hope y'all
I
enjoy your
will.
trip. And to all the girls who watch this later, hey to you girls. Have a good night, guys, and we will see you guys again. Peace.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.